Okay, for interview number 15, we are honored and delighted and very happy to have the well-known, famous author and bow maker, Adam Karpowicz. Adam, thank you very much for joining us. It's a real honor to have you.
No problem, Jacob. I'm really grateful for the opportunity. That way we can all come together as archers and know who's doing what. Yeah, I'm not on Facebook, so for me it's an opportunity as well, especially that way.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, I mean, you know, your name, anyone that knows traditional archery, Turkish archery, you know, will obviously have heard of you. But in this day and age of social media, people immediately will go to Facebook or somewhere. But the fact you're not on there, it's sometimes not always a bad thing. I'm not on Facebook myself because it's just too much social media. But
Exactly.
I guess it means that you still have some more privacy in your life. But people that really want to contact you, they will make the effort to contact you. You know.
Absolutely. I have emails, so certainly I get emails from all kinds of people. And there was this website, Atom.
Yes,
but
of
it's
course.
no longer functional, I understand. So that's too bad. But
right. Okay.
but that's right.
Yeah. I'm trying to actually reach. I think Stephen Selby is the guy behind it, or Peter Decker.
Yeah, he founded it. I understand it was taken. Now it's supported by Peter Decker.
I see.
I remember.
Right.
But I'm not sure what's happening right now. But
okay.
I think there are no posts for years there.
Yeah, it's been a bit dead for a while, but yeah, I'm trying to track them down, so we'll see. I think when I spoke to you last week, I had an interview with Justin Ma about a week or two ago, and his speciality is Chinese archery. So he did the book Way of Archery. Have you met Justin? You've come across him, Justin?
Yeah, I read the book.
Okay.
Yeah, I got his book. Yes, I'll say very good stuff. Yeah,
Excellent.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm training for heavier bows too, so it's
interesting.
quite good.
Yeah, that's good.
Postures.
Yes, that's good. No, that's something we will speak about shortly.
Yeah.
But Adam, why don't we start off with just a very brief? If you just give us a brief introduction about yourself, your introduction to archery, and how your interest came about for making bows.
Yeah. My name is Adam Karpowicz, and I live in Canada. It's the eastern coast of Canada at the Atlantic Ocean. And I moved to Canada in over 40 years ago from Poland. Now, by profession, I used to be, I'm now retired, but I used to be a chemist and art conservator. But for almost 40 years, I got into composite bows, and especially Turkish bows. And I did a lot of research in this area and published some articles and wrote a book about Ottoman Turkish bows. It was translated, now it's the second edition, but it was translated to German and to Turkish. So that's what I've been doing, and my main interest is doing research on composite bows, the designs, the materials, the material properties, and I did some work into original decoration of the bows. So that's basically what it is. I don't sell bows, but the reason why, actually, because I probably would lose interest in making bows if I start selling them, because I just want to test the bows and constantly changing designs and methods and whatnot. And that means that every bow is different, and if I make bows for customers, paying customers, I obviously would have to make exactly the same bow, and so that would kind of doesn't sound appealing to me enough.
Right.
So I'd rather have a research project, ongoing research project, let's say.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I guess the good thing, the fact that you're not doing it to sell bows, means that you can stay true to the historical aspects of the bow, and it's not it's not dictated by anyone wanting the bow to look like this, or perform in a certain way. Yeah.
Well, exactly. I'm completely independent that way. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent. So tell me, you're from Poland. Does Poland have any history, or I guess culture or heritage with archery? Or I know that in Poland there is some remnants from the Ottoman Empire, and I think some bows were found there or something like that. But did your interest start when you were in Poland or after?
No, it was after. It was after, actually, when I was in Canada. And
Okay.
my first contact with Turkish bows was, I was into crossbows at the time. And I read a book by British collector, Spain Galloway. Maybe you heard the name.
Galloway,
and
yeah.
there was a small appendix to the book about Turkish bows he collected. And it was really fascinating reading for me. And he was praising the power of the bow and so on. So I got into that a little deeper, reading the book by Paul Klopstek, who translated the German work by Hein, but Hein translated from Mustafa Kani, which is the Ottoman book from 1830s. And so I got into this deeper and deeper, and eventually started making bows. And my first bow I made was 1985, I think, or 86.
Right.
Functional bow. I broke two bows first, and then there was a third one that worked.
Yeah, third time lucky.
Yeah, and I had no master really, but although I shouldn't say that, because I was very fortunate to know Edward McEwen. He was a British bowyer and archer and researcher, actually. He was active in the 70s and 1970s and so on. And he helped me a bit to put me in the right direction at first.
Excellent.
He wouldn't make major mistakes. I later visited his shop too, but he was really, should be better known than he is, because he was probably one of the first commercial bowyers in the western part of the world.
Wow.
Who reproduced accurately the old bows. He was very fond of Tatar bows, and he actually rode a horse, and he shot the bows from the horse.
Oh, interesting.
And he was also a very powerful man. He could draw 150-pound bows himself, yes. And he shot a Ottoman Turkish bow he made, I think he told me 450 meters. Wow. It was a pretty good result. I mean, he wasn't, trained or anything, but it was good. And so he was excellent bowyer too. And so I just want to mention him, because he's going to be forgotten soon. Like, he retired in 2005 or something.
Right.
So I lost contact with him. He had some health issues later on.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, so I continued on the path.
That's excellent. So just give me his name again. What was his name?
Edward McEwen.
McEwen.
E-W-E-N. M-C-E-W-I-E-W-E-N.
Yeah, McEwen.
Yeah, okay. You might know. He was an editor of the Society of Archer Antiquaries.
I see.
It was a group. Now it's still active, and I am a member. He is Society of Archer Antiquaries. You might know it, maybe through your.
Right. Interesting. Yeah, we'll see if we can maybe find some more information. But no, it's very important that you do mention him, because these are the people that laid down the foundations for us to benefit.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes.
And
he was very generous with me. Yes.
Yeah, and until now, this is the first time I've heard his name. So it's very good that we've.
He made English longbows as well. Yeah, he was really very, very, knowledgeable man. Yeah,
he sounded like a real enthusiast and someone who was.
Well, I tell you more about him. He knew Turkish and he knew Persian. Wow. He taught himself going to the university when he was over 40 years old. And he learned Ottoman script, the Arabic script.
Unbelievable. Wow.
So he translated some works on Persian and Turkish.
Right.
you know, to English and
Right.
published it in some journals and so on. But so, you know, he was a really excellent
Wow.
contact for me.
Well, this was one of the problems that we have today, especially with the Mustafa Khani manuscript, is that we were trying to find people who can access the old Ottoman Turkish, and it's not very easy to find people who know that type of language, you know,
Yes,
specialist language.
Exactly.
So
yes,
no, so this Edward McEwen sounds like a polyglot, multilinguist, a very brilliant person.
Yes, and very impressive. Yes, definitely.
Excellent, excellent. So your interest, was it always in specifically Turkish bows, or did you try to make different type of bows?
Yeah, I tried different styles, but somehow I kind of gravitated towards Turkish bows because first of all, there's more information about them through the book by Klopsek and some other stuff. So and it was most impressive. The performance of Turkish bows was known, you know, and you know, the flight records were fantastic. So somehow I kind of grew kind of interested in that early on, and I made most of the bows actually I made was Turkish bows. So the variation on a scheme, on a style of the Turkish bow. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent.
Yeah, I made other bows like Tatar, Persian. I made a Scythian bow once. It's now in the Chinese museum in Xinjiang province, in Turfan. But I made an Indian bow. I made an Turkic from Altai Mountains, one of the bows. And so, you know, it was kind of all over the place a bit. But, you know, my main, I only wanted to be accurate about these bows and not exaggerate, you know, just take it more objectively as much as I could.
Yeah.
So I had in 2005, I managed to get access to the Topkapi Palace in Istanbul.
Oh, amazing! Yeah.
It was my second attempt. 5 years prior to that, I couldn't get it, couldn't get the permission. But eventually, after a year of intense conversations and convincing and whatnot, I managed to get. And actually, I have to mention that Murat Ezveri, Dr. Ezveri, you interviewed as well, right?
Yes.
He helped me a lot. He was beginning to in his career as an archer, but he helped me a lot to gain access to this museum, to the vaults of the Topkapi Palace. Well, I saw hundreds of bows on the racks. You know,
really?
Imagine that. You know,
wow.
all bows, all kinds, and I was allowed to examine them and measure them.
Excellent.
So it took me several days.
Yes.
I went through about 50 bows.
Oh, amazing.
So that was excellent opportunity, and based on that, I made replicas, which exactly the same dimensions, and then from that I could, of course, test the replicas for draw weight, for performance. So I could then calculate back and see what was the situation with the old bows. And I think it maybe, I mean, to my credit, I think it was one of the first attempts, systematic attempts to actually do this type of research.
Sure. Yeah,
I know that English longbows were tested too, according to the size and to the thickness of the limbs and so on. But as far as the composite bows, I was probably the first, and I could prove that how heavy were the bows.
Amazing.
And what they actually dealing with.
But of course, in Topkapi Palace, you couldn't pull the bows. You could only look at them and measure them and weigh them and things.
Yes. Exactly. Yes. Measured the thickness of the limbs and so on.
So did they have any bows that were maybe broken and you could look at the cross section, or were they all intact?
Yes. Exactly. No, there were many broken and damaged. So I could examine the details of the construction too.
Excellent.
It was excellent. I saw some bows in the military museum in Istanbul too. They were damaged bows, and so it was added to that project. It was really quite good. Yeah.
That's excellent. Well, that is creating a bridge to history, because they have preserved them, and then we have a specialist like you who's able to look at them and replicate them and bring them to life, which is really fantastic.
It was excellent for me.
Yeah,
Yes.
you must have been like a child in a sweet shop.
Oh, I tell you that we were joking with Murat later. He was interpreting for me and translating letters and so on. He came with me to the vault at first. So he said that I was pale, I was very near fainting. He was probably right, actually, to see all these bows right there, never shown.
Amazing. Yeah,
dust was this thick.
Wow, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. Yeah, so it's very
yes, that's right. Yeah. I know that some of the bows were shown prior to that to Edward McEwen. By a researcher, he was one of the curatorial staff members of the Topkapi Palace, was Eugen.
Right.
And he showed him some of the was not in the vault but on display.
Right.
So I was probably the first Westerner to see actually all
absolutely. Yeah, amazing. That's amazing. So Adam, I have a number of questions from different people who sent in questions to you. Some of them are actually people who are trying to make bows themselves, and they want advice and things like that. So I'm going to try and get through as many as we can. Some of them are similar, so I'll join them together, but I'll go through them. They're not in any particular order, but we'll just try and do what we can. So the first question says, what are some of the construction hurdles you have faced when reconstructing bows?
Well, I'd say one really has to be very precise and consistent with the methods of gluing, especially gluing horn to the core of the bow. That really has to be done well. Now, I'm not saying that it's not rocket science, but it really has to be very cleanly done, with no contamination, and you have to pay attention to the glues as well. For example, if you are doing it in a cold climate, you better use a glue which is still somewhat liquid at the temperature of gluing. So you have to just vary this stuff. But I think the main problem usually is for a beginner that the horn layer does not hold and breaks off of the core. Especially in the area that's known as Kasan Eye, which is I have a bow here that I can show you this area. This is the area where most frequently the failure of the glue.
Is this because of the pressure on that area?
Well, it's more reflex here. It's more reflex here. It's thinner, but it's still more reflex. So when you bend it, it tends to separate. All the laminates tend to separate. But you have no problem with sinew usually, because this seems to be the easy part. But the horn, the gluing horn, is probably the most difficult.
Most difficult, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The next one, it says, how do you know, or how do you come about to find out the correlation of the thickness of wood, sinew, and horn, and its properties? For example, efficiency, durability, stability, and stack, etc.
Right. Well, there are certain general rules here that you don't want the sinew layer to be too thin. On the original bows, it's usually 2 millimeters at the center line, along the center line. At the sides, it's thicker because the core is curved.
Curved, yeah.
Yes. So, but don't go below 2 millimeters, okay, no matter how heavy a bow. And the other thing is the more horn gives you more resilience to the limb. So the reflex of the bow is kept a little better. But at the same time, the bow may become less stable because the horn is a softer material than wood. So if you have more of it in the bow, then the limb may tend to twist a little bit. So more wood makes more stable bow.
Right.
These are the basics really, but every bow will work one way or another, right? I mean, if you can make the wood thinner and still hope for the super resilient bow and so on, right? But I would be careful to go too low on sinew, let's say,
right?
At least for the first bow, but and at the same time, actually, not too thin on the horn, because if the horn is really thin, then it tends the glue line is lower on the limb, closer to the belly of the bow, which means when it's flexed, it's under compression. It goes in under compression, the glue line as well as the horn layer, which is if it's thin. So you may have a failure of the horn, of the glue line in this case. So I rather go with the horn a little bit thicker so that it's closer to the center of the limb, where there is no compression and no tension. It's more of a neutral plane of the bow, and then you can flex it without any problems. So I guess, these parameters you have to balance.
Yeah.
The other thing that people often make is too heavy tips, as far as the performance goes. They make them really, even for bows of lighter weight, which we normally make now, like under 60 pounds or so, then they still leave the same width of the tip and the thickness of the tip. So, and the kasan, which is this part. But so we have to be careful here. You have to make it really low mass and rather thinner. This is one of the reasons why the bows perform best if they are set at higher weight, because then you can the balance of the properties shows that you have strong saws, strong bending section, and the smaller kasan in proportion to that. So the bow performs very well.
Right.
When you make them, not so, you can't go too thin here on the lighter weight bow. Yeah. Of course, because you have probably twist and so on. But these things you may have to pay attention to, basically, for performance point of view. Yeah.
I was speaking to Lucas Novotny. I'm sure you know Lucas very well. Very experienced bow maker as well.
Yes. I sent him my customers who ask me if I make bows. I say no. I go to Lucas Novotny.
Okay.
That's
a good recommendation. I mean, especially from yourself, it shows that you recognize him as a good, reliable maker. Yeah. He was telling me a little bit about his bow making process, and he obviously, with so much experience, he doesn't need to measure or weigh things anymore. He can just look at the thickness of a piece of horn or the amount of sinew or glue, and he will just know. I mean, I guess that there's no formula that you can just write down, and to make, let's say, an 80-pound bow, you need a horn of this size and this much glue. I guess it's just with experience, right?
With experience, but mind you, this is a laminate of 3 components: sinew, wood, and horn, and so you can vary the thicknesses, but the most stressed part is always on the outside of the limb, which contributes to the draw weight. So you can vary the thickness inside and end up with the same strength bow. Because you know what I mean? It's just the real total thickness is what matters the most, and the width. Not so much what's happening inside.
I see.
So so you have some latitude here. You can just change the thickness of horn or core if you like. I see. But same with me. I don't measure it anymore, of course. I just simply just know roughly what to do. For a very heavy bows over 100 pounds, I tend to use more horn, actually. Again, as I said, to move the neutral plane of the glue line of the horn closer to the neutral plane. Right. So it's a safer bow, as far as delamination is concerned. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Next question. What are some of your personal favorite timbers to use besides maple?
Well, well, pretty much most hardwoods that have specific gravity over 0.6 grams per cubic centimeter are okay. Basically, I would say worth trying. For example, this bow is made of lilac wood.
Ah, wow.
For example, but so it performs just fine.
Right.
I used maple mostly because it's the nicest wood to work with. It has no grain and it's really smooth to cut and so on. But there are other woods, you know. I wouldn't go to lighter weight. Sometimes people think that maybe perhaps I can use somewhat softer wood for lightweight bows because the wood is lighter. But I would be careful with that because there's some other issues like strength in tension tends to drop. So we don't want to have problems with the tips, you know, or breaking off or something like this. So I would rather stay with the woods that's proven.
Yeah.
More than 0.6, as I say, grams per cubic cubic centimeter. Yeah, but fruit woods are good and all kinds of stuff. You know, dogwood
Now,
I use, yeah.
Of course, different woods have different properties and they perform differently. Have you ever experimented with woods from the Far East, such as bamboo and things like this, and would they work on a Turkish bow or not?
I made two. I remember one of bamboo. I made, but it was somewhat Korean style bow. With construction-wise, it was the grip was glued onto the strip of bamboo. It was pre-bent, but not like Turkish bows. We have you know, a splice on both sides of the grip. But I didn't find this bow to be any better. To tell you the truth, it was excellent bamboo, but bamboo is actually heavy wood. You know, if you take only the outer fibers of bamboo from the culm, then they're heavy. They are heavier than wood sometimes, like even to 1 gram per cubic centimeter.
I always envisaged bamboo to be light but very strong. But you're saying it's heavy.
No, the outer fibers which you want to use, are the strongest of the culm, and they are really quite heavy.
Right.
So it's really no advantage that I could really tell. I mean, there's a straight grain, of course, right?
Yeah.
But, that's good. But
yeah.
Other than that, I don't see.
But also with bamboo, you know, it has every few inches or something, it has a node, doesn't it? So
yes.
Is this a point of weakness as well?
Well, if I make bamboo, I'd rather put a node right in the center where there's least stress, and maybe closer towards the ends. The second one.
Right.
I would try to avoid that. You know, I think it's enough thickness of a bow. A heavy bow probably wouldn't matter that much. You know, I make a lot of arrows out of bamboo. And I don't find particularly, you know, a problem, you know, with the bamboo bending too much or too big, too soft at the node. So I'm not sure. I don't think it's that a big deal, really, you know. But I would rather avoid, you know, to put in a bending section, let's say.
Sure.
Yeah.
I just want to just for anyone who hasn't seen your website yet, I just want to quickly show them the Ottoman Turkish bow. So this is the just hide this. This is the Adam's website, and you know, his book is available on Amazon and iBooks, etc. Sorry.
Yes. The second edition is available on as e-books on Amazon or Apple iBooks.
Excellent. The
second edition, right?
Yeah, and really is an excellent resource for anyone who's into Turkish bows. It's a beautifully made book, excellent images, and really goes step by step into showing how it's done. and a real masterpiece of making it. It shows you here,
Well,
for example,
thank you.
this is the difference between the Tatar cross section and the
Right,
Turkish one,
yes,
Persia
that's
one.
right,
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
You know, we can definitely imagine, see this will be for future generations. This will be a manuscript for them. You know, to be learning from. Definitely.
Yeah, you know, I noticed after I published this book, it was 2008, the first of it. I noticed that quite a few people started making bows, so I'm assuming that they must be reading it, and a lot of them were successful.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, no, it was.
Now we have a lot of bowyers, you know, who are very good.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
that's right.
It worked.
You know, many people. That's something I was going to ask you as well. Many people nowadays, I think, in the last at least 10 years, there's been a big resurgence or a new wave of bowyers worldwide. You know, in Turkey and Europe and Far East, with varying levels of success and quality. Do you think this is a good thing for archery generally, or should it be left to just the masters to stick to bow making?
As you know, you have to start somewhere. So today's non-masters will become masters, you know, after some years, right? Yeah. So you have to let people do what they want. And I think it's good because sometimes you get very interesting results. You know, if you, you know, see they find things that you never thought of. So it's good if a lot of people do it. Yeah, you know, absolutely. I'm definitely, you know, for it.
Yeah. I think it's a good way for it to develop our knowledge and try new things and experiment. And I guess, you know, this was the way, especially the Ottomans, that they evolutionized their bow by trying different things and making, you know, reshaping the limbs and things like that. If they didn't do that, then we wouldn't have such a superior bow.
Yes, absolutely, yes, yeah, I agree with you completely. One thing is important that people should, if they do more research, you know, like I'm talking about more objective type of research, not like a hearsay type of information that you just that's you know, shown on some website or something, and you just don't know where it comes from.
Sure.
Three more systematic studies. I would like to see that. I know that Peter Decker does some stuff on Manchu bows that way, but not so many people. Usually it's just one of bow, and you know what I mean, like it changing design and stuff. Yeah. But you really need to be very careful. What I see too, that people test the bows by hand, of course, shooting by hand, and they make judgments about specific design or specific, you know, style of bow. But in truth, most composite bows at the arrow mass above 10 grains per pound, which is the heavyish type of regular heavyish type of arrow, perform very similarly. Okay, so there's no big difference there. But what they should really be using, they should be shooting not by hand, because that's prone to mistakes and to change the lengths and so on. But do use machines. You know, it's really not that complicated to make a machine and shoot it through the bow with a chrono. But I made a machine that
I'm going
you have
to
a picture, I think.
I'm going to just open it now. And we're going to have a look here. This one. Sorry. These ones here. So maybe just talk us through this machine and what's happening here.
Yeah, well, it's a slow motion film of a machine, of this machine,
right?
Shooting a Turkish bow,
right?
And the machine is actually powered by compressed air. So I press the button and it does everything. I don't have to touch it.
Amazing, yeah. And I think this obviously helps in terms of being more objective. It means it gives a more consistent pull and consistent release.
Absolutely, and the release happens within 1 to 2 seconds, consistently the same.
Yes.
What I did too, the data during the so I collected during the shot, the draw weight and draw length
right.
at every 4 milliseconds of the draw.
Excellent.
So they're collected. So I have thousands of data from the shot, which I can then do to chart the force draw curve, if you remember those.
Yes, yes.
And then when I shoot the bow through a chrono at the same time, then I have the result as to the performance of the bow. So I can compare the force draw of the bow during the release and how fast is the arrow which resulted from it. So I can calculate the efficiency exactly at every shot.
Yeah.
So don't have to do it. Let's say people usually shoot and then go and test the bow on the tailoring stick or something, how strong it is.
Yes,
but
yes.
That's not very inaccurate, because the problem with the composite bows is that the materials are not fully elastic, like in case of fiberglass laminates.
Yeah.
What happens is that all three, sinew, horn, and wood, are they could be called viscoelastic, which means they act stiffer when they are stressed faster.
Right.
And they literally, you have a bow that is few pounds heavier if you draw it very fast.
Yes, right.
And that's taken advantage of during flight shooting. Now, the same bow may perform poorly if you draw and wait for 10 seconds or so. You are losing a few pounds.
Yeah.
So you have to be very consistent as to the draw, not only draw weight and the draw length, but the speed of shooting, actual speed of shooting. So, that way, when I collect the data during the shot, I can make exact comparison, exactly the same conditions. It's absolutely accurate. All these parameters are exactly measured.
Yeah, amazing. No, this is really, obviously, like you say, very objective and clean data information.
That's the best way to go about it.
Yeah. Now you made this machine yourself. How did you? I'm very intrigued to know about the release mechanism here. How did you make that, and what did you use?
It's made of steel.
Is it like a compound release aid or something you had there, or?
Well, in some way, I think this particular mechanism is based on this machine. I have two. Is based on what they call true ball release.
True ball, yes.
Available for compound shooters.
Yes.
So there's kind of like paws that open.
Right.
Open at the same time.
Yes.
When it hits the right draw length.
Yeah.
At this moment, it opens.
Yeah.
The release opens, and this releases the arrow.
Right.
But so it can be very exact here, and it's a very small steel, small size thing. So you don't lose any, forces on some other stainless stuff. So that's a good.
I'm just going to share this screen again and just see an image of what you showed us. So this is the machine itself. I mean, it looks very impressive. So this is all hydraulic air, you said, air pressure?
Air pressure, yes, a compressor. It's the compressor, provides the compressed air into the cylinder, which in turn causes the entire release to move back, and the release right there. That's it.
Amazing.
That's
amazing.
Right,
Oh, what was the poundage of this bow? Looks quite like a heavy one, quite thick limbs there.
I think it was 120 pounds.
Wow. Okay.
I remember this bow. I lost it. I lose a lot of bows with tests,
no!
But this bow was made with Tatarian maple, and I and palette glue. If you're familiar with this stuff, you know, the one of the glues used by the Ottomans
Really?
was taken from the palate, which is the inside of the mouth of a sturgeon fish.
Yes.
Right.
I was
That's
speaking
what
to. I think Jem was. We were talking about this, Jem, and he
yes,
said
yes, right.
instead of the you know, the gallbladder, he said they used the palate glue in the mouth. Yeah.
Yeah,
Fish.
yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Amazing. How do they find out this stuff? I mean, this is, you know, it's like.
Well, they used parts of sturgeon and found it works. You know, cook the soup and.
It's amazing how they come out with these things. You know.
Yeah.
So that was one image of the machine itself. Let me just hide this. So and obviously it looks like you have an actual flight arrow on here, which is barreled, yeah?
Yeah, this one, yes, this one was right.
Right, amazing. Yeah,
I remember
amazing.
exactly what was one of the test arrows. Yeah.
The image is very interesting. It's kind of like the old and new together. So we have a very advanced machine shooting a very historical bow. You know, it's quite interesting.
Right.
Very interesting.
Yeah, I did tests. You know, speaking of tests with the machines, I did test for flight shooting with these bows.
Right.
And got really quite impressive results, which confirm what the Ottomans had. You know, these fantastic distances. I think that my furthest shot was 790 meters.
Wow, amazing.
Right, yeah.
790. So that would have been more than 900 guess, isn't it?
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah. Far more than that. 900 guess is close to 600 meters.
So you would have qualified for Kimankesh.
Well, the machine would. The
machine.
Yeah, I would like to.
Yeah.
I'm still hoping. Okay, I'm still hoping.
Hopefully, yes. Hopefully.
Tell
us about this bow here.
Well, this bow is a different bow. It's 120 pounds, just the same. But I put a picture up here because it shot an arrow 720 some meters.
Wow.
Yeah, so not as far as the other one, but it's lighter weight. So that was quite impressive too. Yeah. So I don't see, you know, like some people don't believe that they could have shot that far. But it was possible, definitely.
Amazing.
You just have to keep at it and just get, you know, proficient enough, let's say, and strong enough to do it.
Yeah. This is your student, Jem.
Right. It was just a few years back.
This is your shop, your workshop.
That's my shop. Yeah, that's my shop. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Wow, all the tools. Yeah. This is the man.
Well, you know.
Yeah, the man's den. This is exactly where every man's dream. You have all the machines. Look at he's got like 4 bows in his hand.
Right. Yeah.
Look at that. Amazing. And
one of the bows is his, if I remember correctly. Yeah, he makes bows, you know, Jem, very nice bows, excellent bows.
Yes, he said he's making them now. Yeah, excellent. This is the chronograph machine?
That's a chronograph, right.
Excellent. Yeah. And this looks like a bow, very early stages, this one.
Yeah, it's just the core of a bow, yeah.
Right. Amazing. Wow. Amazing. So many things in there. Excellent. And let's see what else we have. So there's that one, this one. And
this bow is it's a bow which is now actually, I donated this bow to the Okçual Vakfı in Istanbul.
Okay.
Right, and it's 140 pounds.
Wow,
and
really?
This bow should get to 800 meters.
Wow.
If in the right hands, of course.
Yes, of course, absolutely, yeah.
Right. So it's the second bow I sent it to Jem, who as a bowyer knows how to string it and how to take care of it.
Yes.
You know, I wouldn't send it to an archer because it would be pointless. But
Sure.
archer wouldn't know, you know, exactly what to do with it. But Jem knows, and he will make it available to somebody who qualifies.
Wow.
It's another question. I mean, you know, the bows such as this, the composite bows are so, especially flight bows, you really need to know how to handle them. It's not an easy task, and people who are used to laminates, they don't realize it, and they say, okay, I tried this bow, but it's not for trying. You just either do it or not.
Yeah.
You know, because the first few shots are the best shots you're going to make that you do today.
Sure.
So there's no fooling around here. You just have to know what you're doing when you get to that level.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
So this is why I sent them to Jem to make it available. So it's I really would like to see a Turkish archer to hit, you know, the distances that the old Ottomans, you know, could do.
Absolutely. No, that's
fantastic.
Yeah. I remember Jem showed us I think an image or a video of because it's one thing to make such a heavy bow, but how to string it. It's, you know, you cannot just put it through your legs and string it like that. It has to be, they use some material behind their back and they push it with their feet or something, right?
Right, yeah, that's how you use the special belt called cement. It hooks onto the tips of the Kasan sections, and the archer presses with the feet and pulls, you know, the bow back.
Yes.
You know, just the ends.
Yeah.
So that's the way to do it, but you need to have physical, you know, ability to do it. They're too old, you know. I'm 70 years old almost, so I just no way.
You're looking very good for 70 still. Looking very good.
But I use a bow press, you know, basically.
I see.
So I put the special formers on the limbs first. So tepelix, and then.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, so what you use to when you're making the bow, the wooden frame, you put that on and then you bend it round.
Not making, but stringing. Just for stringing.
Yeah. Okay.
The tepelix are for stringing, so you just attach them to one part close to the castle, and then press down so the bow bends, the bow limbs bend, and then you tie it so they stay bent. And you put them on the it's much easier to string that.
I see.
Already pre-bent.
Yes.
Right. So that's what I do, because especially with heavy bows, there's no way you could, even with a cement. I don't think one can really do it. You know? Bows over 140 pounds are just becoming really not. You know, I hate actually doing this. It's just a dangerous sport.
Yeah, exactly. It is. Sure. You could injure yourself just from trying to string the bow.
Exactly right.
Absolutely.
Exactly right.
Another question here is that does it really matter what animal sinew you use?
Well, I used just cow sinew early on, but I found the pieces were kind of shortish and greasy. I think it's the lack of movement, you know, in the field. So I then use sinew from moose.
Moose, okay.
Deer sinew is good too, but I use moose sinew, is longer. So I just, you know, get it from butchers. I can go to the butcher shop and they show me a pile of legs and I get to work, you know, and then get all the sinew that way. But you can use sinew from anything almost, but you just may have to degrease it, let's say, with some solvent like acetone or something like that, or alcohol first, maybe just in case.
Right.
But you could use sinew from almost any animal. I can't see why not.
Yeah. Okay, you have a slightly longer question. Let me read it out and see how it sounds. Okay. And this is, I think this is coming from another bowyer in Australia somewhere. What led to the theory that hornbow grooves need to be matching when many traditional hornbows have never been found to have matching grooves? This is one question. Do you think the Ottomans picked up on this and made matching grooves for heavier bows, or was it simply a limitation in their understanding of physics that we improved on in the 21st century? I hope that made sense.
Right, right. No, I'd say the grooving, matching grooves, are an improvement of the original technique. And it was first done, I believe it was a German maker Mebert. His name was Mebert, and it was 1930s. And he made 2 or 3 bows, I think, and were matching grooves. And then it seems like from that, this story kind of spread that the matching grooves are indeed better because you have greater contact area between 2 materials, the core
just clarify for me. I don't have that knowledge experience. Just when you say matching grooves, what are you referring to?
I mean that the grooves with the similar to a cut, the scrapers cut in the horn and the wood, in the horn and both in the horn slot and the wood. So when you press them together, they fit into each other.
I see.
The ridges fit into the grooves.
I understand.
So this is exact match. Right?
I see.
You actually can see on this bow, I'm not sure if it can show, but you may see this stripes lengthwise.
Yes, I can see.
Horn.
Yes.
So this is the grooves that you see, the grooves and ridges that were done in this particular.
Yes. I remember Jem, he showed me like a tool, like a comb, and it had teeth in.
Yes, yes.
This is what's used?
The thing is that it wasn't done before. Okay, it's not the original technique. There's a scraper. Scrapers were found with some in China, I believe, in a Chinese shop. Koreans use scrapers. I mean the old method, and there's an Ottoman scraper too in the military museum. And these scrapers have the ridges in the scraper is the metal too, are not made in such a way that they could match, because the only matching opportunity here is that they have to be exactly the same.
Yes. And
these were not. They were quite long, actually, even 5 millimeters long.
Right.
So there's no way you can make anything matching with this kind of tool. So what they did, they use the scraper on one limb, on the wood, and then on the horn, and then applied coats of glue enough so that the depressions, the grooves were formed there were filled
out. Yeah.
Filled out, and then press it together. So you have non-matching situations such as this, that they don't fit matching.
Right.
So I mean, but they don't fit. They go like this.
Yeah.
Or some other configurations, but they do not go into each other.
In each other, I
That's
see.
right. So, and they are filled with glue. The thing is that the glue is stiffness as a material, as an engineering material. The glue is almost the same as horn, So, in truth, if the adhesion is good between the horn and the glue, which is quite thick here, when the bow flexes, these little teeth behave as if teeth of horn, because even though they're made of glue, you know what I mean? Like
yes, I understand.
So similar in properties that the bow itself is not. There's no difference for the bow when it flexes, because there's.
So it's like as if it's one material together.
Yes, this is one material, but in many bows the surface of the core is somewhat convex in cross section, and in the horn is concave. So this convex matches concave in all bows very often. But I believe what happened was that the way to do it would be now, and Jem does it that way. Many other bowyers, they have a curved scraper which can cut a concave trough in the horn to match convexity of the core,
Yeah.
with another scraper, which is matching scraper, which is concave. You know what I mean? Like you just have to have two concave and convex scrapers.
Yes.
But the scraper that we found in the old shops, they're never like this. They're straight. Okay. So what I think is happening is just that the bowyers of the old, they would just make a core curved slightly. There are other reasons for that, but they don't get it. But and they could make it convex on this side with the straight scraper, which is possible. You can manipulate the scraper like so around and make the grooves, and the core is convex. But they made horn on the other hand straight. The straight flat surface was grooved with a straight flat scraper. So then when they bound during the gluing process, the horn is quite hot. So if you press it two together and bind it with a rope, like they did, to clamp them together, the horn would deform and surround the wood a little bit, so forming this concavity. So this is what you basically get. Again, concave horn and convex core at the end. So and actually it does improve adhesion as well. But you see that the reason for that the glue holds is that it's not only subject to a stress of peeling and wedging away, but it's also for the most part, it should the stresses in the glue should be in shear, meaning sliding past. The surfaces should be made such a way that they slide rather past each other instead of being broken away like this. Then the glue holds better. So if you have the teeth here, you have to slide the teeth past each other to actually break the bond, right?
Right.
So if you, this is, and the concavities of the whole thing does the same thing. So it's one big tooth, which has to be, again, it holds better together because it is concave.
Right, right.
You know what I mean? Like it just kind of gets complicated, but
amazing. No, it's interesting.
The slice is, you have to think it through and you get to the.
But this is, I mean, this is part of the evolution of anything. You're trying to improve something, because there is an argument. People say, well, we should only shoot the way they shot according to manuscripts or history. But if we, and of course we respect that, but if we were alive at that time, I think every civilization wants to look to how to develop and how to be faster and quicker and stronger. So they will adopt new methods and new things. So it's, creating a new comb with different teeth, small things like that can make a big difference to the overall effect.
Yes. I honestly, I probably shouldn't be using these scrapers, as I say, with matching grooves, to tell you the truth. You have to be, truthful and honest, for the old techniques. So I'm not saying it's really, on my part, I just took the easy way. The thing is that engineering, from the engineering point of view, there is no difference in bending characteristics. So whichever way you do it, you get the same final result. The thickness of the limb that's really counts. For the performance, not so much the what happens inside.
Right, exactly.
So it's a shortcut, okay, with these matching grooves. And it makes the safer bond, but it really shouldn't be done. I know that some people don't do it. They do it just the old way. Don't matching grooves that fill in all the grooves with many coats of glue, and it works too. So I mean, it's not that it's essential to do it, but I just make it faster. I don't have to coat the bow so many times.
Sure. I think that argument will never end in terms of, do we stay loyal to historical methods, or should we adopt some new methods of it's form and function. It's the argument, form and function. What's more important? Should it be exactly the way it was done, or are we looking to improve the performance and how it?
Well, the bowyers of the old tried to improve performance too, some bows are very different. You know, if you look at them, there's thicknesses here is different, the widths are different.
Yeah.
You know, the ends are smaller or larger. You know, probably for performance.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, it's not that they didn't experiment. They did, for sure.
Yeah.
So I think we are still allowed to do it as long as we stay truthful to the overall, you know, shape and the function and you know this type of thing. So
someone mentioned
we can't go too far with experimenting.
Of course, yeah. So, someone mentioned recently, and I don't know how true it would be, but you know, if the Ottomans who took, you know, their bow making to the top level, they were always looking at new ways of improving the bow. So if they were alive today, maybe they would even be shooting a compound bow because it's very fast, very accurate. Obviously, it's a modern style bow, but who knows?
I don't buy this argument completely, to tell you the truth, because you know, if you study the historical techniques, and you really can't go too far with that. Right?
Of course,
You know, of course, you can say, okay, why bother? Because they would use a carbon bows and whatnot.
That's true. That's
but
also
so why
true.
are you doing this? I mean, you know, what fascinates me is to reproduce the old methods, you know, to see how these tools, you know, actually function. That's what I want to know.
There are two things which really amaze me about the bows. Two things: on the ends, on the tips, where there's, you know, that's where all the pressure is, you know, where the string is touching the limb. You know, why is it that it doesn't break off, number one? And number two, maybe more with laminate bows. I don't have a composite bow myself. I shoot more laminate bows. I have one here behind me. If a bow has not been strung for weeks, maybe months, even if it's in cold temperature, you can pull it out and string it up, and it will not break, which is amazing that it will go from static to being, you know, to movement in a short space of time and still perform, you know.
Oh yes, that's not a problem here. I use bows in fairly low humidity and cold temperature, fairly cold. I mean, my workshop is usually 10 degrees or maybe 15 maximum during the winter. But and the humidity goes down to 30%, which is quite dry. But both still okay, you know, still okay. I wouldn't go any lower with humidity though. But that's they do well. Although you cannot go too high with humidity. Over 70%, the bow is degrading. Okay, so it's if you let the bow absorb that moisture all through at 70%. And try to shoot it, you may ruin it. Actually, you may actually ruin it, especially at higher temperatures. So you know, there are limits here because the glue becomes too soft. Just won't hold.
It's like it's melting. But I mean, is there a way for the humidity to get into the bow if it's been sealed with horn, or you know, if it's been sealed with leather or something, that the humidity can still get in there?
Yes, it can. It's slowed down. This ingress is slowed down quite a bit, actually. The bow that's not just a raw, you know, uncovered bow will absorb moisture right through within, I would say, within a week at the most, about a week. So that's it. But if it's covered with paint, and leather and paint, or birch bark and paint and varnish, they will stay all right even for a month. But after that, there be enough moisture, which, you know, eventually gets inside and will soften the material. So it's not endless. You have to be careful.
Let's say a bow fell into water, for example.
There's no problem. There's no problem because you know, the varnish and paint is oil-based, so it's waterproof.
Right.
So unless you keep it in water for too long, although I once left a couple of bows outside. It was rain. I think I can't remember. It was 2 days in the rain. I forgot about it outside.
Oh, really?
And nothing happened.
Wow,
Nothing
amazing.
happened. So you know, it's not that you need to keep them there in the water for much longer than that, you know.
Yeah.
Because this is a good protection, but not endless, you know. You
Of course.
have to be careful there.
Yeah, everything has a weakness. Yeah. Okay, another question. Previous methods show that some stages of bow making were very long. Have you developed any ways to make the construction quicker and more efficient? And I think we already spoke about the comb with the teeth and things like that, right?
I'm afraid it's very difficult to make shortcuts. You know, I use a bandsaw to cut the wood, right?
Yeah.
So that makes it much faster.
Yeah.
And horn too. And I use a belt sander, for example, to make the horn even, initially even. I mean to shape it or the wood. But really after that you have to use hand tools, unfortunately, because it's just there's no tool that can do all this precision, this grooving and all that, all this stuff has to be done by hand. But you know, once you make more bows, it's very quick. This grooving of one section, like here in this bow, it takes you 15 minutes. You know, it's not that long time, really. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
So just a matter of skill. That you develop. Yeah.
Sure. I mean, personally, you know, I think even if someone was to use a bandsaw to do the big cutting, but the majority is still attention by hand and by eye. This is still, you know, it's still handmade. It's the same thing with making a thumb ring, for example, or arrows. There will always be an element of machinery and tools, but ultimately, you know, the craftsman is the person who is making the item.
Yes, absolutely,
you know?
yes,
You know?
absolutely, yeah, no question,
Yeah. Okay. Next question. What is the average lifetime of an Ottoman bow, and how many shots can we get on average before we see deterioration?
You know, it won't deteriorate if you take care of it. I mean, it's. I have bow. I mean, I test the bows all the time to point of destruction. You know, so I'm not a good person to ask, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
But I made bows which lasted for thousands of shots.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. I know that. I mean, you know, they are very durable bows. I mean, very often in flight bows, sometimes the string breaks and the bow violently springs back to the same, to the reflex shape.
Yeah.
And nothing happens. You know, I mean, you know, if your bow is well made, it can get a lot of abuse with no penalty. Really. I can't say for how many years, but as I say, don't keep it in high humidity, like over 70%. Because then you will see a problem.
Yeah. Very often, you know, some people have a bow and the limbs start to twist and warp.
Yes.
How can they go about realigning the limbs? Or if once it's warped, is it finished? You cannot use it, or depends on how much warping there is?
Well, it depends, but it's almost impossible to not to fix a bow like this. It's if you take enough time and assess the situation very carefully, just look along the bow and see what twists, which area it twists, and what is actually happening, because bow is not twisting, perhaps it's just bent like this, you know. Sometimes it happens in this area of the arrow pass, for example, or you know, sometimes the tips may be out. But so you just have to assess it and then apply heat. And it has to be repeated sometimes, several times, or even many times, and progressively higher heat. And I mean, you cannot exceed certain degree of heat. Let's say I wouldn't go above 60 degrees Celsius, no matter what. And at the humidity around normal, 50% or so, because at higher humidity, that would be enough to ruin the bow. But at the humidity, lower humidity, you can go up to 60 degrees Celsius.
Right.
But it could be all through. So it would be a lot of heating, very slow heating at 60 degrees. but usually I make corrections 50 degrees, it's sufficient. But the thing is that, so you can correct almost anything, okay? If you're just patient enough, you go, and it took me once, I think, half a year to fix a bow like this. It took me that long, and not every day, but, you know, I had to think about it many times, you know, until I got it, you know, right. Well, anyway, so that's what I mean, that you just have to be patient and keep at it. And
I guess patient.
Okay. Sometimes it's, but you know, I'm assuming the bow is correctly made from the start, you know, there's no crookedness, you know, that was already in the bow before it was made. Sometimes I find that sometimes it's people use wood, cordwood, that is too wet, still too green, and make a bow. And then the bow become really twisted because the bow, there's still moisture in it. So you have to observe these little things and just make sure that you're not that you do it properly from the start. Right. But the twist can be corrected.
There is a very well-known horseback archer, Mihai Cosme. Maybe you have come across him, from Romania. He lives in Finland at the moment. He's amazing. He's very fast, very quick shooter. He's used many bows, but now he has kind of made his own bow in a way. It's asymmetrical. It looks, the bottom half is like a Turkish bow. The top half is like an Assyrian bow or something. So, but the higher limb is longer. Now, what he is saying is that many of the
I'm sorry.
No problem.
Okay, well, let me go. This is my wife's phone.
Okay, no problem. It's fine.
I don't know what's going on. Okay, maybe I'll just take it away. Just let me.
Okay, that's fine. No problem, it's fine. What he was saying is that the Turkish bows that we have found historically are only flight bows, and this is why they are symmetrical. But from a performance point of view,
the war bows were symmetrical too. War bows.
The war bows.
I measured this stuff. You know, it was some. Some were. Sorry again.
No problem. If you need to answer the phone, Adam.
Yeah, that's okay. No, they were symmetrical too. You know, I can tell you I measured. So it's not that they were not symmetrical. The thing is that when you have a bow, and it's better to use top limb. It's better. It's slightly weaker. You know, bending a little more. The top limb. So
is this because is this because the arrow is above the middle? Yeah.
Yes, that's right. So, so it's better to have it a little weaker. It doesn't have to be, mind you, but you know, but it's usually the case. So if you get this limb becomes weaker, then I know it is a top limb. But if this one turns out to be weaker, then I turn bow around and shoot it the other way. So that's why you really need symmetrical bow to do that.
I see.
So it's no true that the war bows were not symmetrical. So
I think
maybe he just came across the bow that was asymmetrical. I can't say no, because perhaps some bows experimented too.
I'm not sure if I'm not sure if he found one which was historically asymmetrical, but I think for the purposes of horse archery, he found the asymmetrical ratio works better, and the fact that the top limb is taller, where you actually pull and where the arrow passes is the actual middle of the bow, whereas with the Turkish bow,
is that right? Yeah,
your hand is on the middle and your arrow is on top.
Yes.
So
I see.
I just thought I thought it was an interesting
it is
observation.
But yes, but I suppose you can. It's probably I imagine he sees the arrow passes cleaner if this is asymmetric. Top limb is asymmetrical, so passes cleaner above the hand, above the
possibly, yeah,
the back.
possibly, yeah.
But it can be achieved by simply by forward katra. Katra.
Yeah.
Slight forward katra does the same thing.
Yeah.
It helps for arrow to pass it above.
I see.
Above the hand.
Interesting.
So I suppose you can probably develop your own habits.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I guess.
But for him, I mean, for him it works very well. But also, as you know, it's you can have the best bow in the world, but the archer has to be good enough to shoot the bow at the end of the day.
Yes.
This is what makes a big difference.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Every bow shoots very similar. It's very similar to each other. I mean,
yeah. The difference is the archer, isn't
it? Certain designs are better for lighter arrows or heavier arrows, but you know that. But it's really once you choose your bow, you can be just practice and become skilled.
Yeah, sure.
Whatever you do it.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Next question is a bit long, but I'll read it out. Regarding English longbow shooters, can an Ottoman bow perform effectively in wet climates? For example, battles where the bow is exposed to rain. I think we just talked about this. It's not a major problem if it gets wet. As there is varnish over the entire bow and is covered by rawhide, can it withstand rain, or does it fall apart, as some English longbow shooters claim? So I think there's some back and forth between the English longbow shooters saying that the Turkish bows fall apart a bit.
But perhaps they meant strings, because the strings may fall apart sooner than the bows.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
They are made of organics too. I mean, flax or hemp or what now, or silk.
Right.
And all of them will change length when they are wet, and then dry from wet.
They can shrink and stretch
String and stretch, right? So it may be a problem there.
Yeah.
The strings rather than the bows.
Yeah, I did want to ask you about the traditional three-piece string. You have the middle part and then the two loops, and they are tied with a traditional knot. This is a traditional method of making strings. Is this a Turkish method, or is this from somewhere else?
No, it was used in Asia, not only in Turkey. So it's in I remember Chinese Manchu bows. I saw similar knot too. I mean, they were used in Central Asia and Persia. Were used. So it's not just Turkish. No, I wouldn't think.
And the reason is if the loop is damaged, then you can replace the loop and you still have the string, or is there another reason for it? I think you can adjust the length as well if you want.
Somewhat adjusted a little bit. Yes, that's right. But I think you're right. This is the main reason that the loop can break and you still have your string, or the other way around. But that's I would think it would be the main reason. Yes, right. That's right. Yeah.
Okay. A very big question for people of the Muslim faith as well. We have many traditions of the Holy Prophet who talks about archery, and archery is very close to us. He talks about Arabian bow, and there is one historical event where he saw one of his companions. He had a Persian bow in his hand, and he said to him, "Put down the Persian bow and take this Arabian bow." Now, do we have any information about what this Arabian bow looks like, or how it performed, or anything like that? I know that there is a bow in Topkapi Palace which is attributed to the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, Prophet Muhammad.
Yes, I saw.
But for me, and God knows best, but this shape is very it's like a W, it's like a long drawn out W like this, and I never looked closely to the bow, but it kind of looks like a bamboo type of bow or something.
Yes, yeah, it looks like cane or bamboo.
Cane,
Yes.
yeah. And
Yes, yes.
I don't know where this material would have been found in Arabia at that time, because they don't really have that type of wood. I don't know, but this was, according to historical records, the Prophet Muhammad had about 6 bows throughout his life. Some of them were given as a gift, some of them was from war, etc., spoils. But do you know anything about the Arabian bow, or what it looks like, or anything like that?
You know, I would suspect that it could have been a self bow, I think, but I haven't seen from that period in history. I didn't see anything. I saw one bow actually in the Topkapi Palace, that in the vault, that was Arabian bow. And it was composite bow actually, but the limbs weren't as reflex; they were almost straightish here.
Right.
Much straighter. It was a little longer too. But you know, it's hard for me to say. You know what? If it was it was obviously bow probably from 15th century, maybe 16th century or something like this. But so it will be much later than what you are looking for. But so it's hard for me to say. You know, there was a composite bow though. There were this other bows from Damascus. You know, the Mamluk bows.
Yes.
That looked like Turkish bows, kind of, but a little different in the Kazan section, and it's a little different here. And the grips were bigger and longer. But to be honest, I'm not sure. You know, what could that be? I suspected that time in this region that could have been a self bow. Just like the cane bow. But
I think that is a reasonable and a sensible assumption, because you know, we don't have any other historical evidence that they were influenced by other cultures or civilizations. But it's one of those historical mysteries, I guess, we have to live with. But at the very least, we have, you know, the documented Turkish bow, which is good enough.
Yes.
Okay, next question. How did the Ottoman bow construction complement their way, their preferred ways for engaging in combat? I guess what they're asking is, you know, the bow is short, it's small, it can be used on the ground and on horse, it's very light. Is there anything that you can tell us about that?
I mean, there are people who specialize in what you say, you know, so I'm not probably the best person to answer it, but from what I see is, judging the performance of the bows, the arrows were fairly light by the standards of war arrows, up to perhaps 600 grains, and lighter and lighter. So such an arrow, when shot, loses the velocity. It's from a powerful bow, you know, 100 pounds and over. It's very high velocity, but it loses velocity very quickly because the air drag stopping the arrow all the time. And it's greater when the velocity is higher. So it goes with a square of velocity. So for example, I sometimes practice using the Ibrish arrows, the flues for flight shooting, just to test my release. And imagine the weaker bow shoot further than the stronger bows. Wow. So what I'm saying, that the high velocity is not good for very long distance. It's not very good.
I see.
So it's very good for moving targets because you have a flat trajectory and just right there.
And it goes straight.
So your accuracy is a lot better. And the arrow like this will kill a horse from 50 meters, no problem, or even 100. Because, you know, really? It takes still enough velocity and energy to kill a horse or a person, obviously, an unarmored person. So, and I had a friend in Poland who did testing on armor. this Ottoman arrows. I sent him the arrows, and he was testing the arrows with points he made himself, exactly matching the ones found in the museums from Turkish Turkish points. They were the same Botkin type points.
Yes,
and so they were. The arrows were thin. It was a fairly thin wood or bamboo, and if it hits metal, it tends to break because it's if it doesn't hit exactly straight
on,
it's not, so it doesn't survive. It will break. But if it does actually hit exactly straight, it penetrates better than the English longbow arrows.
Really?
Because it's so thin, it's so small and thin. So there is resistance in the armor.
Of course,
and it hits and penetrates.
Yeah.
And if it hits flesh, it penetrates better too than the English arrows because it's so thin, right?
Right, like a pin,
so,
like a pin going through.
Like a pin, compared to a club,
Yeah.
the stick. So so there is an advantage here. But I would say that to be really effective, these arrows were not shot from more than 50 meters, to kill. Maybe 100, So the tactics were just, the usual attack sideways and round and round and harassing the foot soldiers on the other side, with the arrows, until they gave up and started, whatever, break ranks and maybe pursue the horse archers, and which could shoot backwards.
Exactly.
Of course, the partial shot.
Yes.
Right? And then they could just eliminate them. But so I think the tactics were not really shooting from far away or this sort of thing. It's rather very highly mobile situation, mobile and quick type of
quick shooting. Couple of questions left. How important is it to draw a bow to its sweet spot, i.e. the optimum point as seen on a force draw curve or draw force curve?
I understand that I know actually have a printout of a force draw curve, so maybe that's a force draw curve, right?
Okay, yeah.
And so the sweet spot would be the one, I presume from the question, before the bow stacks, right?
Right.
Yeah. So the stacking means that the curve would go up here.
I see.
Suddenly start going up, the bow stacks. But up to that point, the bow doesn't stack, so you can comfortably shoot it.
Yeah.
I think this, I find that you actually, it's, unless you shoot for target only, but it's beneficial to have non-stacking bow. But if you shoot for flight, in flight archery, or shoot for some quick trick shooting, whatever, and in war, it wouldn't be so important, and some bows could stack. So you can use a shorter bow and it still stacks and it's okay.
Yeah.
So the sweet spot, it depends what you're doing here.
Right.
And the other thing is with this with horn bows that you lose if you sweet spot, meaning it doesn't stack. But we are thinking probably about holding the bow at full draw. And that sweet spot, happily holding it, knowing that there's no stack or nothing. But the thing is that the bow loses power as you hold it, the horn bow, right? So you can have a sweet spot for the laminated bow, which doesn't lose power.
Right.
But for a horn bow, you just don't want to hold it too long, okay?
Right.
So you really, at this point, the sweet spot doesn't matter so much because the bow can stack a little bit. It is still, with the dynamic draw, and you're not worried about stack all that much.
So why does the composite bow lose power at full draw then, and a laminate doesn't?
But the laminate is made of glass. Glass is that provides power for the bow, and what the glass remains resilient no matter how long it is stretched. But the horn and sinew and wood too cannot be stressed for long because they lose power.
Okay.
And so you'll be losing poundage here, right?
Right.
So you may not be accurate for that reason. You may not be accurate because the bow arrow will drop down a bit, right? So you don't want to hold the bow at full draw for any length of time. I'm talking about natural materials bows.
Yeah. So you, like you say, you want a rather quick or dynamic release, so kind of pull and shoot.
I would think dynamic, and it's not in flight archery, but it's probably used in target in Ottoman time. They used method draw. The last few inches were drawn very fast.
Okay.
So you just was a very praised and very beneficial technique actually, because you get maximum poundage, maximum strength for the bow, because there's no let down caused by holding it. Right?
I see.
And in flight archery, it's critical actually.
Yes. Yeah.
I have a force draw curve of a flight bow.
Yeah. Just explain this to us. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. You have fairly uptake of forces here, growing faster, and you have this little hump here, which provides the energy storage and so on. And then you go, it's letting down a little bit, and then it starts climbing up, which means it stacks. So the flight bow from about some 24 inches, maybe 23, stacks. So you, at this point, you are beginning to hit the wall. You know, compound terminology, right? You cannot pull any longer. You know, the boat feels like you have 200 pounds here.
Right.
But you will have a faster arrow if you pull it further than that. You pull through the wall.
Right.
And you are strong enough to pull through the wall. So you have to be dynamic here, and there's a benefit in actually drawing beyond stock in case of the whole composite bows, especially if you use short bows for flight shooting and this sort of thing.
Right. Amazing. Okay. Should a bow's optimum draw length be tailored to the archer's draw length?
I would think so, yes. I think it's, because you don't want the stacking situation to come too fast, too soon, right? I usually use you can calculate it depending on the style of bow, but usually it's the length of arrow multiplied by 1.6, let's say. That gives you the length of bow. You know. I see. So for a 28-inch draw, you usually get 44, 46 long bow between the nocks.
Right.
Yeah. So that's in a Turkish bow. But the other styles would be similar. Maybe could be made a little longer, perhaps. Like Tatar bow.
Yeah.
But it's
I was just going to ask, you also have experience in arrow making, correct?
Well, yes, that's in flight arrows.
Flight arrows.
This is what I've been doing for the past few years. I'm trying to train get good equipment and train myself to.
Okay, excellent. And just tell us about your experience with that, and it's a new learning experience, I guess, with making flight arrows.
Yes.
And are there people out there who you have consulted? I know, he's also a friend of mine, Gökmen Altınkop. He's now living in Ireland, but he's Turkish.
Yes.
But he specializes in arrows. He made his own set of war arrows, which were amazing. And I think he said that you might have sent him a bow to try out or something, to experiment with.
Oh no, it was I think it was Gökmen. Yeah. I think it was a bit of a misunderstanding between us. It was quite a few years ago that I was making a bow. See, I want a Turkish archer to shoot these big distances, right, in flight. Okay.
Right.
So Gökmen was at the time the only strong guy who could draw 100 pounds.
Yes.
So I thought, okay, that would be a good candidate, and I was corresponding with him, but then I sent the bow to Gem, because I can't send, as I mentioned, explained before, I can't really give an archer the bow because it's not going to perform. It has to be prepared for shooting and kept in proper conditions. and it has to be done together with a bowyer, really,
I see.
for a composite bow.
Right.
It's not a bow that you can just string and try like a laminate.
Mm.
So, and I think he understood that I would send it to him, not to Jam,
I
but I
see.
sent it to Jam. So eventually, I don't think he ever shot the bow. Maybe he did. I have to ask Jam, but I can't remember how it ended, the story about the bow. Yeah. But then, now there are more and more people who in Turkey who train and in this in the offshore foundation in Istanbul. There's quite a few of them. And there are some around Jam. There are some very strong guys. The problem is the time. They just don't practice enough. I think that's because it's like an Olympic sport. You really have to put all you got to get to this level. So people don't have the time. They have families and all that. So
I mean, you have to be really prepared to pull a heavy bow. Otherwise, you can injure yourself very easily.
Yeah, no. Well, I'm 70 years old, and I tell you that I regret I didn't do what I try to do now, like 30 years ago, 40 years ago, because now for me it's getting very difficult to maintain this level of proficiency. I have to train with heavier bows because I'm still hoping to get 600 meters shot, which would be the 900 gas shot, right?
Yeah.
So I am trying to, and I calculated according to what I've calculated and others, that this shot can be made with 85 to 90 pound bow.
Really?
So I have a 90 pound bow, and I'm going to try with this bow because I know that I can't get any better than that, and it's stronger than that. Even though I can draw 110 pounds, but it doesn't mean you can maintain full control of the bow.
Right.
It's something that difficult as fly shooting with at your maximum, draw weight.
Yeah.
You have to drop by 10 or 20 pounds to actually do it. So it is very long process of training. It's not easy, but I'm seeing now people who try it, and are getting better. Every year is getting better.
That's good.
I think next year maybe someone will break 600 meters. I think.
We hope so. We hope so. We hope so. Okay, Adam. Just gonna finish with a few kind of fun questions that I like to ask each guest that we have. So some of them will be very obvious answers, I think, but we'll go through them. So the first question is, do you prefer to shoot laminate or composite bow?
Right. I don't shoot laminate bows.
Of course.
Because I don't have them. You see, I made a few, and I'm gonna get one soon. But it's very convenient actually. It's for training. It's excellent. I see no problems with that, and they can be very well made.
Yeah.
I remember I had one Korean bow which I shot, but I still have it, and it's 80 some pounds, and I still shoot it sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's very good bow. I find it's a very well made bow. But so I like laminate bows. I'm not saying anything. The only thing is that they have more hand shock, at least for my style of shooting.
Yeah.
The hand shock is noticeable with the lighter arrow, especially. It's a kind of a jarring kind of vibration that is a little bit troublesome sometimes, I find.
Yeah.
So the horn bows don't have that. At least horn bows, well made horn bows. So I rather prefer to shoot a horn bow.
Who is making a bow for you?
Laminate?
Yeah.
No, I don't have. No, I made one or two myself.
Okay.
One I have is a Korean bow, like this I have, and I'm going to get one as a gift from Tunçay Keskin bows in Istanbul.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know the name.
Yes,
I shot this bow when I was.
This is a Krim Tatar bow I have. This is one of his Keskin ones.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
And he made a bow for me, and I am very grateful for it. And now it's Murat, and it will be sent to me. I shot it. I shot it at the last time I was in Istanbul. I shot the bow, and it was good. It was good bow, yeah. 90 pounds, and it'd be great for training for the 90-pound composite.
Definitely,
yeah. But I don't know really makers of laminates too many anyway.
Yeah. Well, that was my next question. Is, I mean, who do you recognize today as good bow makers? I mean, there are so many, and I'm sure you cannot name them all. But you know, you've already mentioned that you recommend people to go to Lucas, for example. And
yes.
I don't think anyone can argue his bows are excellent.
Right. I know that very successful flight archer is Ivar Malde in Norway.
Yeah.
And he makes he obviously knows how to make a bow, right? He made very good flight bows. So this would be the guy to watch. You know, definitely. Well, I mean, Jan Dunmas is excellent bowyer.
Of course.
You know, yeah, but he doesn't sell bows. Who else? I'm not sure. I mean, there are so many people now who make these bows and make them well. I see pictures sometimes and I'm amazed. You know, excellent production. So I think a lot of them. there's a lot of people. You know, so I couldn't tell. Yeah.
Okay, next question was, this was more for horse archers, I guess. I don't know if you've ever tried horse archery, but we were asking people what is their favorite track to shoot on. You have the Korean track, Hungarian, Polish, Mamluk, so many different types. But I don't know if you have tried horse archery, have you?
No, I'm sorry, no.
Not yet, okay.
Not,
you still have time, don't worry, you still have time. You're still a young man.
Yeah, sure, thank you.
Okay, in terms of arrows, wood or carbon? What do you prefer to shoot, wood or carbon?
Well, I like wood, yeah. I used carbon sometime in the past because this is a consistent and well flying, you know, and you can have different spines, so it's good, you know. I think it's a good product.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't hesitate to shoot it if I were to use laminated bows. You know, I somehow don't want to contaminate a true composite with a carbon arrow.
No.
This way, but
that wouldn't be right. That wouldn't be right. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, you know.
Maybe an obvious question, but you know, we're asking people what is their favorite bow to shoot. But if it was not a Turkish bow, what other style bow do you like to shoot?
I think I use a Persian style.
Really?
bow, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's I mean, historical Persian style because it's a very wide-limbed. But it looks really like Turkish. It's a little longer in the sal section. The bending section is longer and wider. But this is pretty much the same.
Right.
And the grip is very similar too. But the longer and wider section means that the bow keeps its reflex. You know, so does not degrade when it's strung for a long time. You can keep it strung for months, literally, and it will still be a bow to shoot. Wow. It's almost like a laminate, you know. Yeah. So that would be a good product. Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent.
Yeah, I'm not too fond of Tatar bows, but Persian is good.
Excellent. Yeah. Our last question, and it's a bit of a fun question, is: in theory, if you had the chance to live in another era in history, or you can time travel in archery, what period fascinates you the most, or what period would you like to visit?
Well, I would definitely like to be present at the Oak Maiden field, you know, in 16th century, with the Toskoparan, you know, making the shots. This is where I would like to see myself for sure, at least as an observer, right?
Right.
Absolutely. Oh, that would be fantastic. But as far as living with those times, I wouldn't rather not, do it, because my favorite literature I read, it's travelogues from historical, old periods of history, and travelogues that in 16th, 17th century.
Yeah.
And I tell you that the times were not pleasant. Okay, so
yeah.
there were wars, all that mayhem, this,
Not very safe.
the brutality. Yes, it was not pleasant to live on those times. So as far as living there, no. But I would like to go to the field and have a look at it.
Absolutely.
The right time.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree with you. I think that would be for many lovers of archery or Turkish archery, that would be a great time to see. But Adam, it's been a real pleasure to have sat with you and learnt from you. We appreciate your time. We appreciate yourself, your effort, your knowledge, the sacrifice you have made in reviving the Turkish bow and maintaining the information that we have. And like I said, I'm sure that your book will no doubt be a very useful manuscript for years to come and generations to come. We pray that God gives you long life and health, and we can benefit from you as much as possible. I know you like to keep yourself to yourself, and you're a bit of a maybe recluse, which is good. It's a good thing. But we hope that you're able to achieve whatever goals you have in the next few years with archery and anything else, and that we can all come out of this COVID situation healthy, and that we can hopefully meet each other one day soon as well.
Yes, I would like that for sure. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, and thank you for giving me the opportunity. That was great. Yeah.
No problem. No problem. It was our pleasure. Thank you so much, Adam. We'll send you the video soon, and I'm sure it will be very popular for people to see.
I hope so. Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Adam. Take care.
Thank you.
All right.